welcome back, Victorians. In this new episode, and probably the final episode of our Ottoman Empire playthrough, we will teach you a couple of very important tricks. The first is to baptize our infamy through a civil war. So currently, as you can see, we have 94 infamy, mostly through, as a result of our conquest around the region. Um, it will take forever. Well, it will take will not take forever. It will take I think 15, 16 years for all the infamy to decay because with full diplomatic mitigation, it's coming down by 6 to 5 points every year. So for all the 94 points to be neutralized, that will take more than a decade, a time that we don't have. Um, and as a result, uh, going through a civil war is the quickest thing to get rid of it. For you to get a civil war right, you need to do a couple of things. First is you need to pick a legislation that will radicalize the most people. So, for example, um, here, no, not really. Um, I think presidential resident republic will radicalize, three different interest groups, and all of which are pretty powerful ones. So we'll go with this. We'll go with enacting um, a presidential republic. We'll give it a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks. It's so controversial that a revolution will start brewing almost right away. Okay, revolution is on the way. Critical level 370. Probably one of the worst revolution I have ever seen. Second step of having successful civil war is to find out which promises will defect. For you to um, cleanse all the infamy level, you will need to switch to the revolting side. Okay, so what we need to do is we want to make sure that the revolting side. Um, Let me just do this diplomatic thing first. Yeah. So we need to remove the barracks in everywhere else. You can actually see where the barracks are pretty easily. Um, so here, it's going to be Eastern Thrace, which is not going to be joining the revolution because your capital always um, will stay with the current regime. So um, we need to get rid of all the barracks that in the provinces that will not defect, will not join the rebels. Do this, you can see, which province the barracks are based in, and from this map you can see which province are going to defect. So this one, for example, this one is in Aiding, I think. Yeah, Aiding will defect, so we will not be removing the barracks in Aiding. Once you have got rid of the army that will side with the administration that you want to overthrow, you put the clock back on. And in all the events that lead up to the outcome of the revolution or the plot of the revolution, you choose those that will further the probability of revolution. How much this revolution dial progresses depends on how critical the potential revolution is. And in this case, it's very critical. So it's progressing by 25% every week. every cycle. So it's like 6 weeks every cycle. So very quickly we will have a revolution at hand. Okay, so now we have the revolution official. Uh, then you have to do a few things. Oh, actually still have five. I'm gonna remove it. Yeah, in fact, you don't have to remove all the barracks. You just have to do it here. Um, but you get the idea. The idea is that you want to get rid of all the military force you need. So we have no military whatsoever. Still, we have a bigger force than they do. We have 171 battalions, mostly because we have a lot of allies. Our subjects are going to fight with us. Um, Germany offers us to fight it, so we're going to decline because we actually want to lose it. We're not going to do anything, and we hope they won't be doing anything. Sometimes, if the opposite fears you, like they find you too formidable or your allies too big, um, then they will try to sway someone here, Britain, France. You want to avoid that because you will, oh, okay, so they have swayed Spain this time. And technically, you want to avoid that. You want to, because you will take over this religious revolt. So you don't want them to give away any, resources or favors. But it's what it is. Now, the revolution has a bigger army than the current, how you want to call it, the Ottoman Empire has. Again, we're not going to do anything, we're just waiting for the escalation phase to be over and the war breaks out. Um, we will need to, however, and this is critical, we will need to switch side last minute. We need to switch side last minute. So we need to keep a very close eye on this dial here, and at the last minute, we're going to switch to the revolutionary force, which will have a zero infamy. Okay, switching. And here we are taking over as the religious revolt. And you can see AI is really bad with fighting. That's it. We need to set all of these guys to advanced front. I like his hat. And this should be a quick war because the other side has no military. They have some allies, but the allies are poorly trained and equipped, so should be no match. You do need to keep a close eye on, these guys because because they finish the war on one front, they will just go back to their headquarters rather than switching to the closest front to keep fighting. So you need to keep whipping them. Have a new election, which will be a righteous government because we have no opposition. Everyone else has marginalized. I think they're all suffering from a buff, a nerf, as a result of the civil war. And the civil war is over. Now, it's also important to know that after civil war, there's some house cleaning stuff to be done. First is to review the law you're left with. So, for example, we don't have colonial anymore. We want to, start enacting colonial resettlement. Um, we will need to build a lot more barracks because currently we only have 80 barracks, which is nowhere close to enough of defending ourselves. So here we're adding 40, 50, 60. Yeah, that sounds about right. Also review the production method because the Civil War will lead to very different um, production method across the country. Um, what else? Okay, also review your diplomatic situation. Now you should have zero infamy, which is a good, a clean state. And you can start building relations with other countries. I will would say we start building relations with all the important countries, those that are neighbors. We can also review, interested regions, declare new rivals. We'll also need to build some more construction sectors. But that's really it. Now we have had a civil war, our infamy level is 0. Once we go through these transitions, we will be able to start expanding again. Okay, now that we have finished the civil war, we will show how to do what I call diplomatic extortion. Diplomatic extortion basically is by switching sides in a diplomatic play as a third party, maximize your reward from this exercise. So for example here, Britain has started a diplomatic play against the Ashanti, which I think is here, a African country. And Britain wants, well, it's a subject of Britain. Britain wants to reduce its autonomy, whereas Ashanti wants independence. So the key to do this is do it as soon as the escalation move is or opening move is over. The longer you wait, the less likely you can get anything meaningful from the subjects. So to do this, you will need to offer your support to the opposite side of your ultimate victim. So here we will give unconditional support. So Britain will change their mind, become open-minded towards receiving our support. And here you can see they're willing to give us their subjects. This is, I think, the highest reward they can give. Another thing to bear in mind is that to make sure that they are likely to accept your support and in return give you some reward, you want to appear as powerful, as strong as you possibly can be. And in this case means that you need to maximize your conscriptable battalions. You don't have to actually build barracks because that would be very costly. But you can just add the conscriptable battalions and add all of them as artillery, because this AI gives this artillery the highest score. So you can have all the artilleries, and they will be more likely because they don't want you, not because they want your support, but because they don't want you as their rivals in the potential war. So now that Britain will be willing to give you, I think we're going to take Australia. Either Australia or Canada will be fine, but Canada currently is split, I think, between Hudson Bay Company and Upper Canada. So Hudson Bay Company will be slightly smaller, 4 million GDP, 1.7 million population, compared with 1.9, 4.63. So yeah, we're gonna take Australia. And now we just have to wait for the war to break out and leave the war. You don't actually have to fight the war. Okay, so we give it some more time. So yeah, the war has broken out. As a result, we have got Australia. Australia now is it's now with Dominion. And we can leave the war immediately because there's no war go against us. So we just capitulate. And we still manage to keep Australia, and we can immediately reduce Australia's autonomy level. And that also allows us to join another war, another diplomatic play. So here, Wollongong, well, they have Portugal, so it might not be as easy. Still, we can manage to tell them to become a protectorate. even with Portugal, because we are so militarily powerful, they're willing to become our subject. Now, there are also a couple of things, additional things. One thing is that to maximize the effect of this strategy, you will need to have as many regions where you have declared your interest around the world as possible, especially in the beginning of the game. You want to make sure that you have those conflicted regions on your map. So like, yeah, Africa usually see a lot. Earlier in the game, you will see, for example, in China, because in the very beginning of the game, UK will start a opium war diplomatic play against China. So you can declare interest there, and then you can extort something from Britain. Here, before the United States becomes integrated, west coast of the North America is also a highly conflicted area because there's a lot of like colonial wars going on here. Central America is always good, and then Southeast Asia, where a lot of European powers are competing for colonies, and sometimes there's like local revolutions. So make sure that you have your interest declared in those regions. That will give you more opportunities to try this strategy. Another thing to remember is that you will need to be on good terms with, the victims you want to extort from. If your relationship with, for example, Great Britain is uh, hostile, then they will not be, no matter what, accept your support. So always, keep improving relations with them, but do not become an alliance because once you become an alliance, you cannot turn against them in a diplomatic play. And the last thing um, is that you can only use this like in one diplomatic play one time. So if you already, for example, like a month earlier, we're already in this diplomatic play with Britain, we would not be able to join this diplomatic play in Southeast Asia. Um, so you need to time it. You need to make sure that um, you need to make sure that you are in the diplomatic play that you want to be in the most, because you want to be in those that give you the most reward rather than those petty ones. So yeah, so that's going to be a very effective strategy tactic, like no matter what, this game as well as others. Yeah, so we have shown you how to um, rid of your infamy through a civil war. We have shown you how to extort, those territories from various global powers. Now there's another very important step towards becoming the healthy man of Europe. We will need to take down British Empire, because to become the healthy man of Europe, we will need to be the number one country globally. And currently we're number five. Um, it will be relatively easy for us to take over these three: United States, Austria, Hungary, and Germany. But it's practically not possible to take over Great Britain in any what I would call organic way, because we're third of their prestige points, and they're growing faster. That's the thing of this game, as well as I think of Victorian time in general, that industrialization during the 19th century and the early 20th century is a J curve in terms of growth. The growth accelerates. So if we keep on the current trajectory, we'll never be able to catch up, let alone take over Great Britain. So we have to dismantle it if we want to realize our goal. And to dismantle British Empire, we first need to cut it off from its various subjects. And they have, um, I think the most important subject that they currently have is India and Canada. Canada is a dominion, and um, India will be a puppet, I believe. Yeah, British Raj is a puppet. So what we'll do is um, is ask Britain to release it. Britain is already hostile towards us for reasons we don't quite understand. It's minus 81. Probably because we have been ripping them off over the past uh, 20 years. Um, the years 1897, by the way. So we asked them to release India. We actually can ask them to transfer um, India, but that will give us a very high infamy, um, which eventually I think we will have to do if we really want to take it down. Um, but for the time, we were not ready to do that. So we just asked them to liberate it, liberate British Raj, liberate subjects. First, we do it, granting independence to British Raj. Yeah, that's the first step. So of course they will refuse. Can you imagine the amount of money that India is giving to Britain every year? So diplomatic play, we are not as isolated as we could be. There are a couple of countries we can sway. We can sway France, we can sway US, we can sway Spain and Qing, whereas Belgium is likely to team up with Britain. I think they may have some agreements in place, right? They have a defensive pact, yeah, so they will team up with Britain. Again, we're not gonna mobilize our armies. There will be basically two fronts. There will be a front here where we'll be pushing into India, and then there will be another front we will create to expedite the war as well as to divert some pressure from this front, which will be very heavily contested. So we'll not mobilize our own armies. We will not do anything. We want to sway Qing. Actually, we can call in obligation of Qing. Closer to the outbreak of the war, we are adding war goals to this plate. We're actually not making too many demands this time. We just asked to take Bombay. The reason why we take Bombay is just because otherwise Hyderabad, which is a subject we have got through one of the extortion against I think either Britain or British Raj, is an isolated market, and we kind of want to connect it with the rest of the Ottoman market. So we make these many demands, and that's really it. We will have two fronts, like I said. So we're gonna put one of the armies here. No, actually, this one we're gonna put in Anatolia because they would attempt a land naval invasion in Anatolia. We're not gonna mobilize it until there's a naval invasion going on. And then most importantly, we are going to create a landing force. We're going to create a landing force. The key to winning this battle in this David versus Goliath kind of way is to do a successful naval invasion of the homeland of Great Britain. And Britain consists of 13 coastal provinces. All of the provinces in Britain are coastal. So we're going to create 13 marine forces. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to create a 13 1 battalion marine force. Okay, now we have 13. We're going to put all of them. I'm going to put all of them in North Africa. And also to synchronize, because you want all the landing forces to leave from one place so that they arrive at the fighting position at the same time. And then you want to do the same thing for the Navy. You want to create 13 one-ship Navy forces. And the war breaks out. What we need to do is to assign them to each of them to one of the provinces. And we have multiple successful naval invasions. As soon as we have a beachhead, we will mobilize this army and send them to the front in homeland of Britain. Again, we want to make sure that those that have finished the naval invasion keep fighting. Sometimes they will be returning to their headquarters due to some EI mismanagement. So that, yeah, Britain has lost its capital, it's losing 4.4 points of war score every week. It's just a matter of time before they capitulate. We can even facilitate this process by doing another naval invasion in the homeland of United States. United States is a lot bigger country. This strategy will not necessarily lead them to capitulation, but will help, divert their armies away from the Indian front. Um, yeah, I think we're gonna do it. Okay, so Britain is trying to do a reverse naval invasion in their home country. Um, we will deploy our home fleet to defend it. Yeah, so now that our army has arrived, we can actually tell everybody to push on the Virginia-Pennsylvania front. Yeah, and we have wide peace with the US. So this leaves you with India as an independent country. We have got Bombay, and now Hyderabad, a subject of ours, can be integrated into our market. We have also leaped to become a number two country. We still only have half of the prestige points as the Great Britain has, but we have leapfrogged, US, Germany, and Austria. Um, so yeah, this concludes the war with Britain. Of course, as you can probably guess, for us to become number one country, there's one more war with Great Britain down the road.